We are today going to have our current issue debate with the topic. The question for debate today is the student use of test banks is ethical. So we have one team presenting the side for that. We have a team, this group is going to be pro, the team on the other side will be con. Now one of the caveats here, the disclaimer if you will, is that the students are presenting the position which may or may not be their personal opinion. So if they were charged to say this was ethical, that's what they're arguing today. So you cannot assume that's their personal opinion here. So when we start, you each have clickers, right? So to begin, if you would, let me turn this on. Vote about whether you agree with the statement, disagree, or undecided. And then at the close of the debate, I'll ask you the same question again. We're there? I only had 23 with more. Well, I don't know, maybe not more. Okay. We're ready to go then. I'm going to turn this off. Before I do that. It won't. Okay. There we go. All right. So the team that's arguing it is ethical is going to begin, and you have 6 minutes to present your position.
Test bank, test bank, test bank. If you go to Google and search in test bank, within 3 seconds, 46 million hits come up. Test banks are now no longer just administrators can gain access. They're everywhere. If you have a computer and an internet access, you can gain any test bank that you have. Especially if you put in the book and the edition, the test bank's gonna pop up. Some of them you have to purchase, some of them are literally there with a click of a mouse and you download. The issue with test banks goes back to 3rd grade. I went to a Texas public school system. I started with the TOS, then went to TAX, then the SAT, then the ACT, and if I want to continue my education, it's the LSAT, it's the GRD, it's the MCAT. With those tests, a test bank, a resource that you use to study, are previous test questions. It's a test bank. It's out there. It's available. Everybody has this access now, and that's gonna send it over to Allie.
Now, as Sarah was saying, test banks are publicly accessible to everybody, which means that this is abiding by the fairness quality that in virtue ethics. Since everybody has access, obviously we're upholding the fairness value. Also, it allows us, it shows that the commitment and dedication for the students also, if we're going out to find available resources besides just our notes and our textbook. Like I said, you wanna learn how to learn, and the only way to do that is through the use of test banks. Also, we need to remember that this is not illegal, meaning that if you put restrictions on the use of test banks, then you're breaking the value of freedom, which is also being upheld by the use of these test banks. If you look under the utilitarian theory, test banks benefit the overall good. Stakeholders in this situation would be professors, obviously, whose their ultimate goal is to make sure that their students learn. Test banks obviously do this because it's forcing you to learn the material. It's acting as a resource for the students. Therefore, it's benefiting the professors. Another stakeholder in this situation would be the textbook company themselves. The textbook company makes no money or profit off of the test banks themselves. Those are provided to the professors freely. Another stakeholder in this situation would also be, of course, the students. They're the ones who benefit the most good in this situation. Students use these test banks as a way to learn test-taking tactics. There's no way to do that otherwise besides the use of test banks. Like Sarah said, if you look at like the LSAT and the MCAT, that's all those study guides are when you go to Hastings or Barnes & Noble and you purchase a study guide. All they are previous questions from previous tests. And that's the only way you can learn, because it's so much knowledge that you need to know for that one test. It's impossible to learn everything. What you need to know is how to take the test, which is what test banks do.
I'd like to reiterate the fact that we are in college, and one of the many reasons we're here is to learn how to learn how to find information. When you don't know something, you have to figure out where it is, how to get to it. And this is no different than in the real world. You're going to have to figure out, you'll run into problems, you'll have to find new information, you'll have to figure a way through your problems. And the test banks is an example of, if you use it as a resource, it can actually, it will help you, because if you actually do the work and then use it to check your answer, you can see that yes, you actually understand the material and it backs you up.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, you lay down to go to bed at night. Okay, everything's quiet, whatever. Then you hear a ruckus, not a noise, like a huge noise. So you go downstairs and you notice someone entering your house, breaking and entering, and they have a weapon on them. Okay? You go upstairs and you take the gun, which you used for protection, and you try to confront this burglar, who then attacks you with said weapon, whether it be a gun or a knife. You use that gun to shoot and maybe fatally injure the burglar. The next day, you find out that your closest person, your wife or husband, has been cheating on you with the neighbor. Okay? So fueled with rage, you take that same gun, the same gun that you used the day before, you take it and you do exactly what you did the day before, and you shoot someone. The first act is universally seen as ethical under self-defense. However, the second act, under certain circumstances, is known to be unethical. It's because of this that we feel that the use of test banks themselves is not unethical, but it is imperative to look at the situations revolving around the use of test banks. An example that might be closer to home is a teacher here, which will remain nameless, allows you to use books and notes on your tests. If using books and notes on your tests alone were unethical, then I doubt that the university would allow him to conduct his class in this manner. And he's been here for a while, so we can say that the university has accepted this as an acceptable practice. However, I guarantee you, if you bring out your book and notes to use on Dr. Sitzler's test or even Professor Thompson's test, that is in no way ethical at all. It is by far, it is cheating. So the use of test banks itself is not unethical, but the circumstances in which they are used can be created to perform an unethical act in an unethical situation.
Okay. Con position, you have 6 minutes, please.
Okay, so we do not agree with the statement, and we thought the ethical theory that mostly supports our position was also virtue ethics. Disagreeing with the statement supports the virtues of integrity, honesty, respect, and responsibility. And with virtue ethics, individuals exercise judgment, not a universal set of rules. So it looks at the kind of environment being supported and the kind of people the environment is created based on the virtues practiced. So some students would argue that using a test bank is not cheating to study for exams. However, now most textbooks come with a study guide and all sorts of study materials to help you study for tests, including companion websites. And like I have a class that has a companion website, and you can go to the website and it has additional questions, it has multiple choice questions, it will generate additional problems to answer, and it provides not only, as well as the workbook, provides not only the answers, but why those answers are correct. So it helps you learn the material. And the companion website also generates practice tests. And since the companion website is associated with the textbook, it's the same people who build that who build the test bank. So they're very related, but it's not the specific test bank. So with all this additional information that you have to study for tests, it really negates the argument that you need the test bank to study for the test. Okay, and then especially if you're in a class where you know the professor uses the test bank. And we're not talking about using previous year's test bank, the current test bank, and the instructor uses the test bank for their test. then using the test bank to see the answers of the test before you actually go into the test is basically the same as if you took an exam out of a professor's office and saw the answers and the questions beforehand and then went in to take the test, and that's cheating. So if you're willing to cheat for a better grade, what else are you willing to cheat for? And when you get out in the real world with real pressures, now what are you gonna do? Because once you cheat, it makes it easier to cheat in the future.
Okay. And then, like the other team said, although that getting test banks may not be illegal, but it originally comes from a book or a companion website that the professor uses, like not talking about the LSAT, the SAT, the ACT, any of those standardized tests to get into college or grad school, just talking about classes at your university or college, that it originally comes from a book that the professor is supposed to be the only one that has access to it. So the students getting the information or getting the test banks from that is illegal, because it's just like going to like a website, getting music or movies or downloading anything like that is the pirating, which is illegal, because you know every time you turn on a movie the first thing is like pirating is illegal, don't do it. So like getting the test banks from the companion website somehow is illegal, because they're getting the information that they're not supposed to have access to. So getting the test banks like from someone else that they originally got it illegally, so it makes it unethical, because some things that are illegal are ethical, but in this situation it's unethical, because like Marion was saying, that it is kind of a form of cheating, because it's just like going to the professor's office before you take the test and looking at the test and then going to take it. So.
Okay, even if the student is not technically cheating by using the test bank, it's still unethical to use it. If you know that that's where the professor or whoever derives their tests. There's many situations that are legal but very unethical. An example would be slavery was legal, but obviously it was clearly unethical, and in today's times, companies outsourcing their work to other countries and using children for labor. Technically that's legal for them to do, but it's very unethical and they have many problems, so this is the same case. It might be legal for you to get the test bank and study it, but it's unethical for you to use unauthorized material in order to get ahead on your test. The weakness of our argument is that the test bank somehow was made public knowledge, and so like we said, it is legal to get it. But somebody had to acquire it from so they had to have a password or some way to acquire that, and obviously they were doing it for the wrong reasons, which is illegal. And so it didn't start that way, so somebody had to publish it, which would be illegal, because obviously the company wouldn't publish the test bank used for just instructors. So to wrap everything up, the test banks weren't originally intended for students, and however they got to public information is out of our hands, but the real question is using the test banks ethical? And it's not, because they weren't intended for your eyes, and you're supposed to know the material and learn the material, not memorize it from a test bank in order to do well on a test.
Okay. Then the team speaking for the statement has 3 minutes to rebut. Okay, I'll give you a minute to confer. Okay, time. You have 3 minutes.